No. Torah Or, Parshas Chayei, page Tazayim. We learned this Maimer last year, but again, there's no other Maimer today. Class is sponsored by Avram Meradian for Sipora Bas Sarah. Shom Shev and Aliyah. Okay. Lahavin Yin Mashamed Azal, to understand what Chazal say. Yav Shachas B'Tshuva Maitzim Teim Malazeh Mikol Chelim Abba. That one simply means 1 hour of Torah Tshuva Maitzim Teim in this world is better than the whole Olam Abba. The whole purpose of Tshuva Maisim Tevim is they get levushim l'neshama, become garments for the neshama, shetuche lanes miziv hashchina b'olam haba, that the neshama can enjoy olam haba. L'chayra, like you ask a normal from a yid, what's the purpose of doing Torah mitzvahs? To go to olam haba, right? Which is not true, as we'll soon learn. But so the Alter Rebbe is asking, how can you say Tshuva Maisim Tevim in this world is better than Olam Haba when the whole purpose of Tshuva seemingly is to go to Olam Haba? Like it says in the Zohar, the Pasuk, Avram Zakim Baba Yomim. What does it mean he was old, coming in days? It's redundant. Be'in and Yem and Eloi. In those days of above, what days are we talking about? Yomim Eloi. Vailu Lahu Gavla. Woe is to that person, the God of Yomim Le'ela, that ruins the night, the days from above. In other words, if a guy wastes days down here, so then he's going to be wasting Gan Eden up there. The Chad Ba'ayin La Boshim Bin Yemin the Pagum Chasrim Olavush Canal. Like we just said, that if a person wastes days down here, then he's going to waste days in Gan Eden. So l'chayda, the Zohar seems to imply the purpose of this world is to go to Gan Eden. But l'chayda,
there is time in Gan Eden.
What?
There is time in Gan Eden.
What do you mean time? There's a source of time.
You're wasting a day here, you're wasting a day out there.
No, the gilui of Gan Eden, you're getting less gilui. But the inyan is the neziv hashchina b'olam haba, the ziv of the shchina b'olam haba. Is not similar to the Gilu of Elokus in the worlds. What does that mean? Like it says, you give life to everything. The godliness which comes into the worlds is not understood. It's not physically seen. And he said, like the neshama coming into the body. Into various different limbs. He says, Vadai, b'chayis ruchni. There's no question that in the ruchniistic life, l'shar klal, you can't say that there's chayis l'chalokim. Kein beruchni shein shum tmuna v'tzir. The neshama comes into the body, right? So it goes into the head, into the foot, into the stomach, and the hands, different parts of the body. There's no way you could say that the ruchniistic power of the neshama, there's a head section, and a hand section, and a stomach section. No, because it doesn't work like that. Because the ruchnius doesn't have any form and shape. His palas achayis beivorim, though, the effect of the neshama in the body, nika v'nira, it's visible. In other words, the mitzias, the existence we know. But the essence, what the chayis is, it's not at all noticeable. In other words, what it is, we don't know. In other words, we see the neshama functioning in the body, the person is alive and they can think and talk and walk and give whatever. But what it is, the muhus, the essence of it, we don't know. The chayis of Elokus that gives life to the worlds, bali gvul v'tachlis. Bevadai ein b'chayis ruchni b'chinas gvul v'tachlis. There's no limitation in ruchnius. Like G'derech Moshe, chayis ha'mechayah igol kader ha'shemayim. Okay, so now there's the ball of the heaven, right? The whole system is set up like a ball. So now you have a ball of the heaven. But vadala, you're talking leimad. There's no way you're going to say, okay, let's make it simpler. In the ball of the sun, or the ball of the earth, right? Kador HaShemesh, Kador HaOretz. Nobody's going to say that because the sun is round, the ruchnius, the kachayis that gives life to the sun is also round. I mean, it's ridiculous to say. What it means is that the manifestation of the ruchnius is based on the gashmistic keli. Hamekabel chayis. Afapi shachayis mislabish b'teichei, even though the chayis functions in it, achayis atzmei eina begedim vakum gvul. It's not at all in the realm of time and place. Meaning very simply, when the hand writes, okay, that means the chayis of the neshama is coming into the hand to write. That doesn't mean that there's a power of writing in the nefesh. What it means, it's a simplistic power of life. When it comes into this vessel, it writes. When it comes into this vessel, it eats. When this vessel, it talks, it walks, and so on. Like we said many times, a battery, it's a good gashmistic mashal, it's a realistic mashal. You have a battery, okay, you put it into a flashlight, it gives light. You put it into a toy, it moves, it walks, whatever. That doesn't mean the battery has in it light and talking and walking and whatever. It's a simple power of functioning. When it comes into this keli, then it functions according to that keli. Or as Chassidus gives a mashal, when you take colorless water and you put it into a red glass, it looks red. When you put it into a green glass, it functions green and red and yellow and purple, whatever. That doesn't mean the water has red, pink, green, whatever. The water is one colorless, therefore when it comes into a red keli, it functions. What do you mean it functions? When you look at the keli, you see red water. It's not really red, but it functions, it looks red. So that's the same thing with the nefesh in the body. So he says, the chayis of elokus that comes into the world is not limited, basically. When it comes into a keli, it functions. When it comes into inanimate, it functions inanimate. The plant, the animal, human. That's how it functions. Now we can understand, it says, right, the pasuk Malei Chol Haaretz K'veido, and Targum says Ziv Yikare. We say this in Volutzin, right? Ziv Yikare, a ray of his greatness. So K'veido, Targum says, what do you mean? The glory of Hashem means the ray of Hashem. What do you mean the ray of Hashem? It's only Ziv is Pashta Sada Bilvad. Okay, it's only a ray. It's K'veido. Another pasuk says, "At a Shemayim v'Haaretz ani malei." I, not my ray. So which one is it? In other words, there's a contradiction. One pasuk says, "Malei Chol Haaretz K'veido," Hashem's glory, which Targum says means a ray of the Shekhinah. That means not Hashem himself. It's not the sun itself. It's the ray of the sun. Yeah, and then yet another pasuk says it's a Shemayim. That's ours. Ani malei, ani. The way I am who I am. So he says Shneim inyan, the Shneim em. It's both are true. Why? Like he said, now there is a ray of the Shekhinah that functions accordingly, but there's also elokus in that thing that's not round and not a hand, and not writing, and there's two levels of elokus. There's a level of elokus that comes into the keli and writes, and then there's elokus that comes into the body and keeps him alive. It's not functioning directly in the body. And he says, "Well, inyan shnei emes kanal." V'zeh shamer azal. This is what Chazal say. B'malkim shatam meitzig dulaseh shal Kadosh Baruch Hu. In the place where you find Hashem's greatness. That's what you see is humility. What does that mean? Hainu lei kamei sha'elim seivrim. Not like the world thinks. Shagad l'sabeiri, what is the greatness of Hashem? Mashi is baruch mechaya kol ha'elim is. Some people say the greatness of Hashem is, wow, that He keeps the universe going. And a massive universe. He says, Adrab, you read the Etzli. This is the descent. Because the universe is limited. So now you're saying, okay, Hashem is so great, He gives life to the universe. That's a very limited level of Hashem. Hashem is infinite. Hashem has to lower Himself. And He has to come into the world to keep it existent.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Right. And he says, what it says, it's not a praise. That Hashem deals with a finite world is not a praise. There's no end to Hashem's greatness. Now you're telling me, you know what Hashem's greatness is? He deals with a finite world. What is the praise? The praise is not that Hashem is running a finite world. The praise of Hashem is that He's humbling Himself to deal with a finite world. That's a praise. Who has sagas mohus v'atzmas is pashas achayis alukos b'chinas gilu. Says what the unique of Gan Eden is like this. We understand what we see. In this world, we don't understand what we see. But the greatness of Hashem in this world is that He lowers Himself to deal with this world. Somebody, Chayei once said, he said, you know what the Rebbe's greatness was? Not that he was brilliant and could say, my mother, the greatness of the Rebbe was he gave a kid a nickel to put into the tzedakah box.
He said what?
He gave a kid a nickel to put into the tzedakah box. If you think about it. You have a brilliant man, a leader, and what's he doing? He's giving a kid, and he's dealing with a little kid to put a nickel into a pushka. But Malcolm Shatamei to Gedulasi Shal Tzadikim, there you see the humility. It's like, we're discussing last night about saying Till and Shabbos Mevarchim, but by a lot of brilliant tzaddikim, saying Tillim is a waste of scholars, I'm saying, not tzaddikim. Scholars, saying Tillim is a waste of time. I'm saying Tillim. You could be steiging, learning Gemara, we're saying Tillim. Simple people could say Tillim. The greatness of a person is that as brilliant as he is, he realizes you need to say Tillim. I said this many times after Moshe Feinstein passed away. So they made a shleishim here in the city for him. So one of his Talmidim, the editor of Art Scroll, he came and he spoke about Moshe. He was very close to Moshe. He was telling everybody Moshe's day, what time he got up every day, what time he did this. That was, he went through his day. So the first thing Moshe did when he got up was said the whole Tillim every day.
Who did that?
Moshe Feinstein said the whole Tillim every day. That was more impressive, personally I felt. It was more impressive to me that Moshe Feinstein said the whole Tillim every day than he was a brilliant man. If you think about it. He understood you have to say Tillim, to daven that the learning should be proper. It's like davening before learning. Okay, so he says now, but now we need to understand like this. So he says, Gan Eden is a ray of the Shekhinah that we feel, we see, we understand, He said, but now the question is, how is that possible that a neshama, which is Bechinas Nivra, which is a creation, Yesh v'davar b'fnei atzmei, a separate entity, how is it possible lahasig mos v'atzmas elokuz, to understand godliness? She'eina bechinas hasagol gvul, which is not understandable. In other words, the Alter Rebbe just was explaining what's the uniqueness of Gan Eden. They understand the Shekhinah that they see. They feel it. In this world, we don't feel it. Gan Eden, you feel it. So he says, how could a neshama, which is a limited being, understand infinite alukus of Gan Eden? And he says, even though it's a part of Hashem, he said, but it's marshal, ki in tipis azera, like the sperm, the seed of the father. Like it says, in order to produce seed, you have to have das. That means it comes from the brain, because the child can't give birth, right? You need to have maturity of the brain to create the seed. Alter Rebbe says, you can't say that while this seed, the sperm, which is physical, when it was in the brain, you can't say that the sperm in the brain was a physical sperm. It came because then when the sperm leaves the brain, so to speak, then you'd be a smaller brain. So he said, Be'emes, it starts off from the brain ruchnius. And then he says like this, when this ruchniistic power from the brain to produce seed goes down the spine, then then it becomes physical. Very interesting thing. Now the Rebbe is saying the seed leaving the brain is spiritual. When it goes down the spine to where it needs to go, so then that's where it becomes gashmis.
What has this got to do with understanding Zina Shekhinah?
1 second. Kachal derech moshul nishama ikra shasham b'chinas alukus mamash. So he says, yeah, the same. He says, even though neshama is a part of Hashem, so why can't it understand alukus? So he says, yeah, it originates in alukus, like the seed originates in the brain, but then it comes down into a physical entity. So the question is, how is it possible that the neshama can understand godliness in Gan Eden? So he says in like this. It says, when Moshe Rabbeinu went up after Matan Torah for the first 40 days, right, to get those first luchos. It said, he was 40 days and 40 nights. Lechem le'ochal, the pasuk said he didn't eat, right? He didn't drink. Lechem le'ochal, mayim l'shas. So how did he live? Try fasting 40 days straight. You ain't going to make it. How did he live? Then in heaven, Moshe Rabbeinu lived from spiritual food. Like it says in the pasuk, Lechem abidim ochel ish. It didn't tell him, right? The lechem of abidim, the strong ones, ish, Moshe Rabbeinu ate. Kamei malachim, just like the angels. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu's body, when he was in Har Sinai, became so refined that just like the angels, what do the angels live from? Ruchnius. So the same thing, Moshe Rabbeinu lived from Ruchnius. So he says, but the question is, but the question is, how can Moshe Rabbeinu's physical body exist from Ruchnius? What?
They don't have such a power for eating. They eat a little and that's it.
Tzadikim eichel l'seva nafshe. Tzadikim eat to satisfy the nefesh because they have to elevate the sparks of kedusha. But here Moshe Rabbeinu didn't eat. So the question, what did he do? So the Medrash says, it's a pasuk in Tehillim. That's what the pasuk is. Lechem abidim ochel ish Moshe Rabbeinu ish elokim. What did Moshe Rabbeinu eat in 40 days in Shemayim? And again, he did it 2 times more. He did 120 days, he didn't eat. It's good for the diet, but What did he? So it says he ate ruchnius. So the Alter Rebbe said, but how could a gashmiistic body eat ruchnius? He says, Zeh inyan ha'anan. That's the inyan of the anan. Shal Moshe Rabbeinu miskaseh be'hainu shal anan shal shemi madregas elokus me'idnai. This cloud, which is a makif level, originates in a super lofty level of elokus. But then it came down physically to be a levush lamesha. Shal yada yochel lahasig elokus. That he was able to understand elokus in Shemayim. Vayuleilam Bazin became his food. Ka'adam araya umistaku ba'artzach derechiriya. It's like a person when you want to look at an eclipse, you want to look at the sun, you have to look through a covering, because otherwise it's going to blind you, God forbid. So Moshe Rabbeinu, the Anon, which originated in a very lofty place, but it covered Moshe Rabbeinu that he could see the level of Elokus, that he was there for 40 days and 40 nights. He was mamish like a malach. And then that is the garment that allowed the neshama to see Elokus. He said the same thing, the Torah mitzvahs that the neshama does is the garment that allows the neshama, when it comes to Gan Eden, to feel that level of Elokus.
Garment to see Elokus.
In Gan Eden.
What about food?
What food?
For 120 days.
That's what I'm saying. He ate ruchnius. But ruchnius that came down into the anon, the cloud that fed him. What? He didn't eat food up there. The Gemara says, Asisa kartas al bin Musa. Simply means when you come to a city, do its customs. Or as the English say, as in, when in Rome, do as the Romans. Yeah? So it says, when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shemayim, over there they don't eat, so he didn't eat. The Malachim came down to Avraham Avinu. Down here they eat, so the Malachim ate. Well, Rashi said it looks like they ate. But according to that, the Malachim assist the Kartas, Al Ben Musa, the Malachim ate. That's why, according to the Medrash, when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to get the Torah, the Malachim said, give it to us. So not like our Gemara says he went through the Sesed Dibros. The Medrash says, Moshe Rabbeinu said to them, how can you have Torah when you ate treif? By Avraham Avinu, you ate meat and milk. Yeah, but if you hold that they didn't eat, or they didn't do anything wrong. So what was Moshe Rabbeinu's complaint? According to that Medrash, they ate.
They ate meat and milk and meat.
Okay, but the problem, they ate it together. They put the butter, they smeared the butter on the meat. They made a cheeseburger, with a butter burger.
First it says the cream, then it says
Okay, that's the way he shot.
Wow.